Baby discovered a German shepherd cemented inside a wall. What he did next left everyone in tears. What you're about to listen to will change the way you see children forever. A story so unbelievable yet true that it sent shockwaves across the nation. If you think you've heard it all, prepare yourself for something that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the connection between humans and animals. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. The whisper started on a Tuesday. 5-year-old Liam Carter sat bolt upright in his bed, his tiny hands clutching his dinosaur-printed blanket. The digital clock on his nightstand blinked 2:17 a.m., its red glow the only light in the otherwise pitch-black room. Something had woken him, a sound so faint that most people would have dismissed it as the wind or their imagination. But Liam wasn't most people. His eyes, wide and searching, scanned the shadows of his bedroom in the old Victorian house his parents had purchased just 3 weeks ago. The whimpering came again, a soft, desperate cry that seemed to seep through the plaster of his bedroom wall. "Hello?" Liam whispered, his voice small in the darkness. The crying paused briefly before continuing, somehow sounding even more desperate than before. Liam's small feet hit the cold wooden floor as he slid out of bed. The sound was pulling him forward like an invisible thread. He pressed his ear against the wall, his heart racing as the whimpering grew clearer. It wasn't human, that much he knew. It sounded like a doggy, he whispered to himself, his breath fogging slightly on the cool surface of the wall. "You're stuck, aren't you?" The whimpering responded, almost as if answering his question. Liam's hand moved across the wallpaper, feeling for any cracks or openings. Finding none, he frowned. "I'll help you," he promised the unseen creature. "I won't leave you alone." Morning light streamed through the kitchen windows as Olivia Carter flipped pancakes while her husband Daniel poured coffee into matching mugs. Their conversation about renovation plans for the weekend halted when Liam appeared in the doorway, still in his pajamas, dark circles under his normally bright eyes. "Honey, did you not sleep well?" Olivia asked, immediately concerned by her son's unusually disheveled appearance. Liam climbed onto a kitchen chair, his expression serious. "There's a dog crying in my wall." Daniel chuckled, ruffling Liam's already messy hair. "Buddy, that was probably just the house settling. These old places make all kinds of weird noises." "No," Liam insisted, his voice more forceful than his parents had ever heard it. "It's a real dog. She's scared and can't get out." Olivia placed a small stack of pancakes in front of her son. "Sweetie, there can't be a dog inside the walls. That's impossible." "She's there," Liam said, ignoring the food. "I talked to her all night. She needs water. She's really thirsty." Daniel and Olivia exchanged worried glances. They had noticed Liam's tendency to have vivid dreams since moving into the old house, but this seemed different, more intense. "Tell you what," Daniel offered. "After breakfast, I'll come up and we'll listen together, okay? Maybe it's just pipes or the neighbor's dog you're hearing." Liam nodded reluctantly, but he barely touched his breakfast. His mind was elsewhere, with the frightened creature he was convinced was trapped within the walls of their home. True to his word, Daniel followed Liam upstairs after breakfast. They stood silently in Liam's room for nearly 10 minutes, Daniel's patience wearing thin as they listened for any unusual sounds. "See, buddy? No dog. This house is just old and—" "Shh!" Liam held up his hand, his face suddenly alert. "Listen." Daniel strained his ears and heard nothing but the distant sound of a lawnmower from somewhere down the street. "I don't hear anything, Liam." The boy's face crumpled slightly. "She only cries sometimes, but she's there, I promise." Daniel sighed, crouching down to his son's level. "Liam, sometimes our minds play tricks on us, especially in a new house with new sounds. There's no dog in the wall, son." Liam's eyes welled with tears. "You don't believe me." "It's not that I don't believe you," Daniel began, trying to find the right words. "It's just that what you're describing isn't possible." But Liam knew what he had heard, and he knew that no one was going to help the dog but him. That afternoon, while his mother folded laundry downstairs, Liam snuck a bowl of water and some crackers into his room. He placed them near the wall where the sounds had come from. "I brought you something," he whispered to the wall. "I don't know if you can reach it, but I'm trying." He pressed his ear against the wall again, waiting. Minutes passed in silence before he heard it, the faintest whine, somehow sounding grateful. "I know," Liam whispered. "I'll find a way to get you out. I promise." At dinner that night, Liam was unusually quiet, pushing his pasta around his plate without eating much. "Everything okay at kindergarten today?" Olivia asked, concerned by her normally chatty son's silence. Liam nodded, then hesitated. "Ms. Jenkins asked why I drew a dog inside our house walls." Daniel nearly choked on his water. "You drew what?" "I drew the dog that's in our wall," Liam explained matter-of-factly. "Ms. Jenkins said it wasn't nice to make up stories, but I'm not making it up." Olivia reached across the table to feel Liam's forehead. "Are you feeling all right, sweetie? No fever?" "I'm not sick," Liam insisted, frustration evident in his voice. "Why won't anyone believe me?" "Because, honey," Daniel said gently, "dogs don't live inside walls. It's just not possible." "This one does," Liam said firmly, "and she's scared." That night, after his parents tucked him in, Liam waited until their bedroom door closed before sliding out of bed again. The whimpering had grown fainter, which worried him more than the louder cries from the previous night. "Don't give up," he whispered urgently to the wall. "I'm going to help you. Just hold on." As days passed, Liam's obsession with the dog in the wall only intensified. His kindergarten teacher, Ms. Jenkins, called Olivia to express concern after Liam spent an entire art session creating increasingly detailed drawings of a German shepherd trapped in darkness, surrounded by what appeared to be concrete. "Has Liam experienced any trauma recently?" Ms. Jenkins asked carefully. "Perhaps the loss of a pet?" "No, nothing like that," Olivia replied, watching through the classroom window as Liam sat alone, drawing yet another picture while the other children played together. "We just moved into an old house, and he's convinced there's a dog trapped in his bedroom wall. We've explained that it's impossible, but he won't let it go." Ms. Jenkins hesitated. Children sometimes create elaborate fantasies to process change. The move might be more difficult for him than it appears. "Maybe," Olivia agreed, though something about the explanation didn't sit right with her. Liam had been excited about the move, about having a bigger yard and his own room. This fixation seemed to come out of nowhere. "There is one other thing," Ms. Jenkins added. "Liam mentioned that he just knows things sometimes. When I asked what he meant, he said he knew when you were going to call before the phone rang, and that he told his father to take an umbrella to work last Thursday, even though the forecast was clear." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. There was an unexpected storm that day. Daniel got soaked because he didn't listen to Liam. The teacher nodded thoughtfully. Children can be surprisingly intuitive. Perhaps instead of dismissing his concerns outright, you might want to investigate what's triggering this particular belief, even if it's just to set his mind at ease. On the drive home, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about the teacher's words. It was true that Liam sometimes seemed to know things he shouldn't, little things that most people would dismiss as coincidence. The phone calls, the weather predictions, the time he'd woken up crying about his grandmother falling, only for them to receive a call an hour later that she'd broken her hip. Could this somehow be related? The thought was unsettling. When they arrived home, Liam immediately ran upstairs to his room, calling out to the wall before Olivia even had a chance to follow him. "I'm back. Are you okay? I thought about you all day." Olivia stood in the doorway, watching as her son pressed his ear against the wall, his face a mixture of concern and concentration. "Liam, honey," she began carefully, "I want to understand about this dog. Can you tell me more about what you hear?" Liam looked at her suspiciously, as if trying to determine whether she was genuinely interested or just humoring him. Finally, he waved her over. "Come listen," he whispered, pointing to a specific spot on the wall. "Sometimes she's too tired to cry loud, but I can feel her here." Olivia hesitated, then knelt beside her son and pressed her ear to the wall. They stayed like that for several minutes, the silence broken only by the ticking of Liam's dinosaur clock. Just as she was about to pull away, she felt it, a vibration so slight that she almost missed it. Not a sound exactly, but a tremor, like something shifting. "Did you feel that?" Liam asked, his eyes wide and hopeful. Olivia pulled back, unsettled. I felt something. But Liam, it could be anything. Pipes, the house settling. "It's her," Liam insisted. "She's running out of time." That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. She found herself in the kitchen at midnight, searching online for information about the house they'd purchased. The listing had mentioned it was built in 1897, with various updates throughout the years. What it hadn't mentioned was any history that might explain Liam's fixation. Can't sleep either? Daniel asked, shuffling into the kitchen in his pajamas. Olivia jumped slightly. I'm just doing some research. On what? Childhood hallucinations? Daniel asked, peering over her shoulder at the laptop screen. On our house, Olivia replied. I'm starting to think there might be something to what Liam's saying. Daniel sighed, running a hand through his sleep-tousled hair. Liv, come on. You know there's no dog in the wall. That's not physically possible. I know it sounds crazy, she admitted, but today when I listened with him, I felt something, a vibration. And you have to admit, Liam has always had these intuitions. Coincidences, Daniel corrected, though his voice lacked conviction. Remember when he knew about my mom falling? Olivia pressed. Or the storm last week? What if he's sensing something we can't? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. So, what have you found? Not much yet, Olivia admitted. The house was last owned by someone named Edward Morrison, who sold it to the real estate company that flipped it before we bought it. I can't find much about Morrison, though. Well, maybe we can ask around the neighborhood tomorrow, Daniel suggested, more to appease his wife than out of any real belief. For now, let's try to get some sleep. But sleep remained elusive for both of them. The next day was Saturday, and Olivia took the opportunity to introduce herself to their neighbors, while Daniel took Liam to the park. Mrs. Whitaker, an elderly woman who lived 2 doors down, invited Olivia in for tea when she mentioned they'd recently moved into the old Morrison place. Such a beautiful home, Mrs. Whitaker commented, pouring tea into delicate china cups, though it stood empty for quite some time after Edward left. Left? Olivia asked. I thought he sold the house. Mrs. Whitaker's expression grew troubled. Well, that's the official story, I suppose, but the truth is, no one really knows what happened to Edward. He simply disappeared about 8 months ago. Olivia nearly spilled her tea. Disappeared? What do you mean? It was quite strange, Mrs. Whitaker continued, seeming relieved to finally share the story. Edward was always a bit of a loner, but harmless, kept to himself, worked from home, some kind of computer job. Then one day, the neighbors realized they hadn't seen him in weeks. Mail piling up, no lights on. When the police did a welfare check, the house was empty. No sign of foul play, just abandoned. That's unsettling, Olivia said, trying to keep her voice steady. The strangest part, Mrs. Whitaker leaned in conspiratorially, was his dog. Edward adopted a German Shepherd puppy about a year before he vanished. Sweet thing, Luna, I think he called her. She disappeared too. Everyone assumed he took her with him, wherever he went. Olivia's blood ran cold. A German Shepherd? Are you sure? Mrs. Whitaker nodded. Positive. I used to see him walking her in the evenings. Beautiful dog, very well behaved. Why do you ask? Just curious, Olivia managed, her mind racing. She hadn't told Liam what kind of dog their neighbors had owned. She hadn't known herself until this moment. Yet somehow, he had been drawing a German Shepherd trapped in the walls. When she returned home, Olivia found Daniel and Liam in the backyard, kicking a soccer ball around. She waited until Liam was distracted with his toys before pulling Daniel aside to share what she'd learned. A German Shepherd? Daniel repeated, his skepticism finally showing cracks. And Liam's been drawing a German Shepherd specifically? Olivia nodded. He's never even seen a picture of the previous owner or his dog. How would he know, Daniel? How would he know unless there's actually something to this, Daniel finished, looking troubled. But Liv, even if the guy had a dog that went missing, the idea that it's somehow trapped inside our walls is... I know how it sounds, Olivia interrupted, but what if something happened? What if this Morrison guy did something to the dog before he disappeared? Daniel ran a hand over his face. That's a pretty serious accusation. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, Olivia clarified. I'm just saying, with all the renovation this house went through before we bought it, isn't it possible something got built over? The suggestion hung in the air between them, too disturbing to fully acknowledge. Later that evening, as Daniel was putting Liam to bed, he found himself studying the walls of his son's room more carefully than before. Liam, he began tentatively, this dog you hear, can you tell me more about it? Liam's eyes lit up at finally being taken seriously. She's big and has pointy ears. She's brown and black. She's really scared and hungry. And you hear her? Where exactly? Liam pointed to the corner of his room, where the outer wall met the wall separating his bedroom from the hallway. Mostly here, but sometimes I can hear her when I press my ear on the floor too. Daniel nodded, trying to think rationally. That corner had been part of the renovation. The real estate listing had mentioned opening up the floor plan downstairs, which would have required adding support to this section of the house. Has she told you her name? Daniel asked, immediately feeling foolish for the question. But Liam didn't find it strange at all. She didn't tell me. I just know it's Luna. Daniel felt the hairs on his arms stand up. Luna? Liam nodded. That's her name. I draw pictures of her at school so she knows I didn't forget about her. That night, after Liam fell asleep, Daniel crept back into his son's room with a stud finder. He ran it along the walls where Liam had indicated, finding nothing unusual until he reached the corner. The device beeped continuously across a section that should have had standard spacing. Something wasn't right with the construction. The next morning, while Liam was eating breakfast, Daniel casually mentioned needing to check something in the basement. The basement had been another selling point of the house, unusually large for the area, with high ceilings and newly finished walls. As he descended the stairs, flashlight in hand, Daniel tried to orient himself relative to Liam's bedroom above. The corner in question would be right there, a section of wall that looked newer than the rest, the paint slightly different in color. Daniel approached it slowly, running his hand over the surface. Then he noticed something odd, a small air vent near the floor that didn't seem to connect to anything. Crouching down, he shone his flashlight through the slats, but could see nothing beyond darkness. Just as he was about to give up, his flashlight caught something, a reflection, like light bouncing off something metallic. Daniel adjusted his position, trying to get a better angle. That's when he heard it, so faint that if he hadn't been listening for it, he would have missed it entirely. A whimper, followed by what sounded like labored breathing. Daniel stumbled backward, nearly dropping his flashlight. "Oh my God," he whispered to the empty basement. Liam was right. While construction workers were renovating the basement for the real estate company, they discovered something unusual hidden in a crawl space, a collection of journals belonging to Edward Morrison, the previous owner. Initially setting them aside as personal items to be returned, one of the workers had flipped through a journal out of curiosity and been disturbed by the contents. Rather than turning them over to the authorities, which might have delayed the renovation and their paychecks, they had hidden the journals in the attic, telling themselves they would anonymously report it later. But like many things intended for later, it was forgotten entirely. Until now. Olivia stood in the dusty attic, holding a flashlight between her teeth, as she carefully opened the first journal she'd found stashed behind an old trunk. Daniel was downstairs with Liam, keeping him occupied while she investigated further. The earliest entries were mundane: work complaints, weather observations, occasional mentions of going to therapy for anxiety, and intrusive thoughts. But as Olivia flipped forward through the pages, the writing became increasingly erratic. Paranoid passages about being watched and "they're listening through her" began to appear with alarming frequency. With growing horror, Olivia realized that "her" referred to Luna, Morrison's German shepherd. "She stares at me when I sleep," one entry read. "Her eyes follow me. She knows what I'm thinking. They've trained her to read my mind and report back." The delusions appeared to worsen over time, with Morrison becoming convinced that his dog was a surveillance tool implanted by unnamed government agencies. He wrote about blocking her signal by keeping her in the basement, away from windows where she could transmit data. The final entries were the most disturbing. "I can hear her transmitting even through the walls. I've tried everything to block it. Nothing works. There's only one solution left." The next page detailed Morrison's plan to permanently contain the surveillance unit by building a false wall in the basement. He'd calculated airflow, determining that a small vent would provide just enough oxygen to keep the unit functioning, but too weak to transmit signals. Olivia closed the journal with shaking hands, feeling physically ill. This wasn't just a sad case of a missing dog. It was evidence of a disturbed mind carrying out a horrific plan. She grabbed the journals and rushed downstairs, finding Daniel in the kitchen making lunch, while Liam colored at the table. "We need to talk," she whispered urgently, gesturing toward the back door. "Now." Outside, she showed Daniel what she'd found, watching his face drain of color as he skimmed the entries. "This is Jesus," Daniel muttered, running a hand through his hair. This guy was seriously mentally ill. And if what he wrote is true, Olivia continued, her voice trembling, then Luna is exactly where Liam says she is, trapped inside a wall in our basement. Daniel, she could still be alive. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. That's impossible. This happened months ago. No animal could survive that long without food and water. The vent, Olivia insisted. You said there was a vent. Maybe rainwater gets in somehow. Maybe she found a way to sustain herself. I don't know, but Liam is certain she's alive, and everything else he's known has turned out to be true. They looked at each other, the full weight of the situation sinking in. I'll get my tools, Daniel said finally. If there's even a chance. What about Liam? Olivia asked. Should we keep him away just in case? She couldn't finish the sentence, but Daniel understood. Just in case what they found was too disturbing for a 5-year-old to see. Just in case Liam had been wrong and all they discovered were remains. I'll call my sister, Daniel decided. Ask her to take him for a few hours. We'll tell him we're doing some house repairs. But when they went back inside, Liam was standing in the kitchen doorway, his eyes wide and urgent. You found the bad man's books, he said. Not a question, but a statement. Now you believe me about Luna. Olivia and Daniel exchanged startled glances. Liam, honey, Olivia began carefully, we're going to look into this, but I think it would be best if you went to Aunt Sarah's for a little while. No! Liam's shout startled them both. I need to be here. Luna's waiting for me. I promised I'd help her. Buddy, Daniel crouched down to his son's level. If the dog is there, she might not be in good shape, and we don't know for sure that... She's alive, Liam insisted, tears filling his eyes. But she won't be much longer. She's really tired now. She doesn't cry as much anymore. The certainty in his voice was chilling. Please, Liam begged, please let me help her. I promised. After a long moment of silent communication between them, Olivia nodded slightly to Daniel. Okay, Daniel agreed reluctantly, but you have to stay back while I check the wall, all right? And if I tell you to go upstairs with Mom, you go. No arguments. Liam nodded solemnly, relief washing over his features. Thank you, Daddy. The three of them descended to the basement, Daniel carrying his toolbox, Olivia holding Liam's hand. When they reached the section of wall in question, Daniel instructed Liam and Olivia to stand back. This is where she is, Liam said confidently, pointing to a specific section of the wall near the small vent. Daniel nodded, setting down his tools. Let's listen first, he suggested, wanting to be certain before he started tearing into their home. The basement fell silent as all three strained to hear any sound from within the wall. Seconds ticked by, stretching into a full minute. Nothing. Daniel was about to suggest they rethink this when Liam broke away from Olivia's grasp and rushed to the wall, pressing his small hand against it. Luna, he called softly, his voice trembling with emotion. We're here to help you. Please make a sound so my daddy knows you're real. Another long silence followed. Olivia moved to pull Liam away, an apology already forming on her lips when they all heard it. A faint scratching sound, followed by the weakest whimper imaginable. Daniel's skepticism evaporated instantly. He grabbed his hammer with newfound urgency. Stand back, both of you, he ordered, his voice tight with a mixture of shock and determination. I'm going to start with a small hole to see what we're dealing with. As Daniel carefully began removing a section of drywall, Liam watched with intense focus, his small hands clenched into fists. Olivia stood nearby, phone in hand, ready to call emergency services if needed. I see something, Daniel muttered, shining his flashlight through the small opening he'd created. There's definitely a space behind here that shouldn't be there. He worked faster now, enlarging the hole until it was about a foot square. The beam of his flashlight revealed a narrow chamber, crudely constructed between the original foundation and the newer wall. And there, huddled in the far corner, was a shape. Oh my God, Daniel breathed, his voice barely audible. Fur, matted, filthy fur, and the slight rise and fall of breathing. Luna was alive. Daniel worked frantically now, tearing at the drywall with renewed purpose. As the opening grew larger, the full horror of the situation became clear. Luna wasn't just trapped behind a wall. She had been deliberately sealed into a tiny chamber, barely large enough for her to turn around in. The space was a prison, with just enough room for the dog to exist but not live. Olivia, call a vet. Now, Daniel ordered, his voice shaking with a mixture of shock and anger. But Liam was already moving forward, his small body slipping past his father before either parent could stop him. "Liam, wait!" Olivia cried out, but the boy had already dropped to his knees in front of the opening. "Luna," he whispered, extending his hand toward the frighteningly still form. "I told you I'd find you." The German shepherd's head lifted slightly at the sound of his voice, her eyes sunken deep into a skeletal face, struggling to focus. When Liam's scent reached her, something remarkable happened. Her tail, little more than bone covered with fur, thumped weakly against the concrete floor. "Be careful, Liam," Daniel warned, ready to pull his son back at the first sign of aggression. A trapped, starving animal could be dangerous, especially around a child. But Luna showed no signs of aggression. Instead, she made a feeble attempt to crawl toward Liam, her emaciated body trembling with the effort. Liam turned to his parents, tears streaming down his face. "She needs water. She's so thirsty." Olivia ran upstairs, returning moments later with a shallow bowl of water. Daniel had managed to enlarge the opening further, but Luna still couldn't fit through, not without risking further injury to her frail body. "We need to remove more of the wall," Daniel decided, reaching for his tools again. "The vet is on the way," Olivia reported, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. "Dr. Rebecca Martinez. She said she'll be here in 15 minutes. Liam hadn't moved from his position by the opening. He'd taken the water bowl from his mother and was now holding it so Luna could reach it. The dog lapped weakly at the water, her tongue dry and cracked. "Not too much at once," Olivia cautioned, remembering something she'd read about refeeding syndrome in starvation cases. "Small sips, honey." Liam nodded, pulling the bowl back slightly when Luna tried to drink too eagerly. "It's okay," he soothed. "There's more, I promise." The sound of a car pulling into their driveway broke the tension. Olivia rushed upstairs to let the veterinarian in, while Daniel continued carefully removing sections of the wall. Dr. Martinez was a short woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She followed Olivia down to the basement without wasting time on pleasantries, her medical bag clutched tightly in her hand. "Where's the—" Her question died on her lips as she took in the scene. A half-demolished wall, a skeletal dog visible through the opening, and a small boy whispering reassurances to the animal. "Sweet mercy," she breathed, setting down her bag and kneeling to assess the situation. "How long has she been in there?" "We're not sure," Daniel answered, wiping sweat from his brow. "At least a couple of months, based on when the previous owner disappeared." Dr. Martinez's eyes widened. "Months? That's impossible. No dog could survive that long without food and water." "There's a vent," Olivia pointed out, "and we think water might have gotten in somehow during rainstorms. We found journals. The previous owner was mentally ill. He believed the dog was spying on him." The vet's expression hardened. "Well, I'll need to examine her properly once we get her out. But I can tell you already that this is one of the worst cases of animal cruelty I've ever seen." She turned her attention to Liam, who hadn't taken his eyes off Luna. "You must be the one who found her," she said gently. Liam nodded. "I heard her crying in the walls. Nobody believed me at first." "Well, I believe you now," Dr. Martinez said, her tone serious. "And you've probably saved her life. I'm going to help your dad get her out, and then we'll take good care of her, okay?" Liam nodded again, reluctantly moving back to give the adults room to work. Olivia put her arm around his shoulders, pulling him close. "You did it, honey," she whispered. "You really did it." With Dr. Martinez's guidance, Daniel removed enough of the wall to create an opening large enough for Luna to pass through. The vet prepared a makeshift stretcher using a blanket Olivia had brought down. "This is going to be the tricky part," Dr. Martinez warned. "She's severely dehydrated and malnourished. Any sudden movement could cause further harm. We need to ease her out very gently." Daniel nodded, positioning himself to help, while Olivia kept Liam at a safe distance. "Luna," Dr. Martinez called softly, her voice calm and professional, "we're going to help you now." But the dog didn't respond to the vet's voice. Instead, her eyes remained fixed on Liam, as if drawing strength from his presence. She only wants Liam, Olivia realized. She trusts him. Dr. Martinez hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with involving a child in such a delicate procedure. But after a moment's consideration, she nodded. "Liam, would you sit here where she can see you? Talk to her while we try to move her?" Liam immediately squirmed out of his mother's grasp and positioned himself where the vet indicated. "It's okay, Luna," he said, his young voice surprisingly steady. "These are good people. They're going to take you out of the dark place. You don't have to be scared anymore." As if understanding every word, Luna's eyes never left Liam's face as Dr. Martinez and Daniel carefully maneuvered her onto the blanket. The dog was so weak that she offered no resistance, her body limp and frighteningly light as they eased her through the opening. Once Luna was free of her prison, the full extent of her condition became horrifyingly clear. Her ribs protruded sharply through her dull coat. Her legs were little more than sticks, and sores covered the parts of her body that had been in constant contact with the concrete floor. Dr. Martinez immediately began a cursory examination, her experienced hands moving gently over Luna's emaciated form. "Her heartbeat is weak but steady," she reported. "Severe dehydration, malnutrition, pressure sores, possibly some muscle atrophy from confinement. She needs fluids and specialized care immediately." "Is she going to be okay?" Liam asked, his voice small and frightened. Dr. Martinez looked up, her expression softening as she met the boy's anxious gaze. "I won't lie to you, Liam. She's in very bad shape, but she survived something that should have been impossible. That tells me she's a fighter." "She wants to live," Liam said with absolute certainty. "She told me so." The adults exchanged glances, but no one questioned his statement. "My clinic is just 5 minutes away," Dr. Martinez said, returning to her professional demeanor. "I want to get her there as quickly as possible. I have the equipment to give her the fluids and care she needs." "Can I come too?" Liam asked immediately. Dr. Martinez looked to Olivia and Daniel, clearly leaving the decision to them. After a brief silent exchange, Olivia nodded. "We'll all go. Luna might feel more comfortable with Liam nearby." As they carefully carried Luna up the basement stairs and out to Dr. Martinez's van, a neighbor spotted them from across the street. Word spread quickly in the small community. By evening, everyone would know about the dog found inside the wall of the old Morrison place. Dr. Martinez's clinic was small but well-equipped. Her assistant, a young man named Carlos, was waiting for them, having been alerted by phone during the drive over. "Exam room 1 is ready," he reported, his eyes widening as he caught sight of Luna's condition. "Oh my God." "IV fluids, warming blankets, and let's get some blood work started," Dr. Martinez instructed, her voice calm and focused despite the horror of the situation. While the medical team worked on Luna, the Carter family waited anxiously in the small reception area. Liam sat between his parents, unusually still, his eyes fixed on the closed exam room door. "How did you know, Liam?" Daniel finally asked the question that had been bothering him since the discovery. "How did you know she was there?" Liam shrugged, the gesture oddly adult on his small frame. "I heard her." "But how did you know her name was Luna?" Olivia pressed. "We never mentioned that to you." Liam looked confused by the question. "She told me." "The dog told you her name?" Daniel clarified, trying to keep his tone neutral. "Not with words," Liam explained, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "I just knew it, like how I know when it's going to rain or when Grandma is going to call." Olivia and Daniel exchanged worried glances. Liam's intuitions had always been strange, but this was something else entirely, something they couldn't easily explain away. Before they could question him further, the exam room door opened and Dr. Martinez emerged, looking tired but less grim than before. "She's stabilized," she announced, removing her latex gloves. "I've got her on IV fluids and medication for pain and infection. The blood work will tell us more, but for now, she's holding her own." "Can I see her?" Liam asked immediately. Dr. Martinez hesitated. "She's very weak, Liam, and she's connected to some machines that might look scary." "I won't be scared," Liam promised. "And Luna won't be scared if I'm there." After a moment's consideration, Dr. Martinez nodded. "All right, but just for a few minutes." She led Liam into the exam room, with Olivia and Daniel following close behind. Luna lay on a treatment table, covered with a warming blanket, an IV line running into one of her front legs. Monitoring equipment beeped steadily nearby, tracking her vital signs. Despite Dr. Martinez's warning, Liam showed no fear at the sight. He approached the table calmly, stopping just within Luna's line of sight. "Hi, Luna," he said softly. "You're safe now. The doctors are making you better." Luna's tail moved weakly under the blanket, the only indication that she was aware of his presence. Dr. Martinez watched the interaction with professional interest. "It's remarkable," she commented quietly to Olivia and Daniel. "She responds to him in a way she doesn't respond to anyone else. It's as if they have some sort of connection." "He's always been intuitive about things," Olivia said carefully. "But this is different. He knew things about Luna he couldn't possibly have known. Like what? The vet asked. Her name, for one, Daniel replied. The previous owner's journals confirmed it, but Liam knew before we found them. Dr. Martinez's expression turned thoughtful. I've been a veterinarian for 15 years, she said slowly, and I've seen some things that science can't easily explain. The bonds between humans and animals sometimes transcend our understanding. She watched as Liam gently stroked Luna's head, the dog's eyes never leaving the boy's face. Whatever the explanation, she continued, that bond might be what keeps her fighting. She should have died in that wall. By all medical logic, she shouldn't have survived more than a few weeks without proper food and water. Yet here she is. What happens to her now? Olivia asked. After she recovers? That's a conversation for another day, Dr. Martinez replied. Right now, let's focus on getting her through the next 48 hours. Those will be critical. As word spread about Luna's discovery, local media began to gather outside the veterinary clinic. By evening, a small crowd had formed. Concerned citizens, animal lovers, and reporters eager for a story about the miracle dog found inside a wall. Carlos, the vet's assistant, had been fielding calls all afternoon. Channel 7 wants to do a live segment for their evening news, he reported, and the Pineville Gazette is sending a reporter over. Dr. Martinez sighed, running a hand through her hair. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. It's not every day a 5-year-old boy discovers a dog entombed in a wall. Do we have to talk to them? Olivia asked, concerned about exposing Liam to media attention. Not if you don't want to, Dr. Martinez assured her. I can handle the press, but they'll want to know about Liam, how he knew. Daniel frowned. That's what I'd like to know too. They all looked toward the exam room, where Liam still sat beside Luna, seemingly unbothered by the growing commotion outside. He was talking to the dog in a low voice, his small hand resting gently on her side. What is he saying? Olivia wondered aloud. I don't know, Daniel replied, but whatever it is, Luna seems to understand. Inside the exam room, Liam was indeed having a conversation of sorts with Luna. Not with words, at least not words that anyone else would understand, but with something deeper, a connection that had formed the moment he first heard her cries through the wall. Everyone wants to know how I found you, he whispered to Luna. I don't know how to explain it. I just heard you when no one else could. Luna's eyes, still sunken, but now more alert thanks to the IV fluids, remained fixed on his face. Her tail thumped weakly against the treatment table. Dr. Martinez says you're a fighter, Liam continued. She says you shouldn't have survived this long, but I knew you would. I knew you were waiting for me to find you. He leaned closer, as if sharing a secret. I know other things too, Luna. I know you weren't always in that wall. You had a home before. You had someone who loved you, but then he got sick. Not sick like a cold. Sick in his head. He was afraid of you, but it wasn't your fault. Luna whined softly, the sound barely audible over the beeping of the monitoring equipment. I know, Liam soothed. It was scary, but you're safe now. When you get better, you can come live with us. I already asked Mom and Dad. They didn't say yes yet, but they will. I know they will. Outside the clinic, the crowd continued to grow. News vans had arrived, their satellite dishes extending skyward. Reporters stood before cameras, gesturing toward the small building as they delivered their reports. 5-year-old Liam Carter made an unbelievable discovery in his family's new home, one reporter announced. A German shepherd, believed to have been sealed inside a wall for months, was found alive thanks to the boy's persistence. Another reporter added dramatic flair to the story. In a case that has stumped both veterinary experts and local authorities, a dog named Luna has survived what should have been a death sentence. The question on everyone's mind, how did young Liam know she was there? Inside, Dr. Martinez returned to check on Luna's vital signs. Her numbers are improving, she reported, adjusting the IV flow, but she's still not out of danger. The next 24 hours will be crucial. Can she stay here overnight? Olivia asked. Absolutely. I'm planning to stay with her myself, Dr. Martinez replied. She'll need constant monitoring. What about Liam? Daniel asked quietly, nodding toward their son, who was beginning to show signs of exhaustion after the emotionally draining day. Olivia crouched beside Liam. Honey, we need to go home now. Luna needs to rest, and so do you. We can come back first thing in the morning. Liam's face crumpled. But what if she needs me during the night? Dr. Martinez will take excellent care of her, Olivia assured him. And if anything changes, she'll call us right away." "Promise you'll call?" Liam asked the veterinarian directly. "I promise," Dr. Martinez said solemnly, "no matter what time it is." Reluctantly, Liam stood to leave, but not before leaning close to Luna one last time. "I'll be back tomorrow," he whispered. "Keep fighting." As the Carter family prepared to depart, they faced another challenge, navigating through the crowd of reporters and onlookers gathered outside. "I didn't expect all this," Daniel muttered, peering through the blinds at the media circus. "We don't have to talk to them," Olivia reminded him. "We can just say no comment and keep walking." But when they stepped outside, Liam surprised them by stopping in front of the cameras. His small face was serious, his voice clear and determined as he made a simple statement. "Luna's going to get better. She just needs time." The reporters immediately began shouting questions. "How did you know she was in the wall, Liam? Did you hear her barking? Do you have some special connection with animals?" But Liam simply repeated, "She's going to get better," before allowing his parents to lead him to their car. As they drove home in the gathering dusk, Liam fell asleep in his car seat, exhausted by the day's events. Olivia turned to look at her sleeping son, her expression a mixture of pride and concern. "What do we do now?" she asked Daniel quietly. "I don't know," he admitted. "This is all beyond anything I ever expected to deal with as a parent." "He saved her life," Olivia said. "However he knew, whatever this connection is between them, he saved her when no one else could." Daniel nodded, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. "I know, and I'm proud of him. I just wish I understood how he knew." "Maybe we don't need to understand it," Olivia suggested. "Maybe we just need to accept that Liam has a gift." As they pulled into their driveway, Daniel sighed. A gift, or something else entirely. That night, as Liam slept peacefully for the first time since they'd moved into the house, Olivia and Daniel lay awake, their thoughts racing with questions that had no easy answers. If Liam could somehow sense Luna's presence, what else might he be sensing that they couldn't? And what did it mean for their son's future? Have you ever had an unexplainable connection with an animal, a moment when you just knew what they were feeling? Share your story below. The next 48 hours were the most critical in Luna's fight for survival. Dr. Martinez worked tirelessly, monitoring the German Shepherd's condition around the clock. She'd treated countless animals throughout her career, but none had affected her quite like Luna. The dog's will to live defied all medical logic. Her condition should have been fatal, she explained to Olivia and Daniel when they brought Liam to the clinic the following morning. The level of starvation and dehydration she experienced, I've never seen an animal survive that. Liam had barely spoken since waking up, his focus entirely on getting back to Luna. Now, as they entered the treatment room, his face lit up at the sight of the German Shepherd. Luna looked marginally better than the previous day. The eye fluids had helped rehydrate her, making her sunken eyes slightly more alert. When she caught sight of Liam, her tail thumped weakly against the treatment table. "She was restless all night," Dr. Martinez told them, "but she calmed down about an hour ago, almost as if she knew you were coming." Liam nodded, unsurprised. "She was waiting for me." He pulled a small chair up to the treatment table and climbed onto it, positioning himself where Luna could see him without having to move her head. Then he simply sat there, one hand gently resting on her bony shoulder, occasionally whispering words too soft for the adults to hear. Dr. Martinez observed the interaction with growing interest. "I'd like to try something," she said after a few minutes. "A small test, if you don't mind." When Daniel and Olivia nodded their permission, she continued. "I need to give Luna her medication, but she's been resistant to anyone touching her. Would you mind stepping out for a moment while I try with Liam here?" Once the parents had left the room, Dr. Martinez prepared a syringe with pain medication. "Normally, Luna gets anxious when I approach with medication," she explained to Liam. "Can you keep talking to her while I do this?" Liam nodded solemnly and leaned closer to Luna. "The doctor needs to give you medicine to help you feel better," he whispered. "It might hurt a little, but then you'll feel better. I promise." As Dr. Martinez approached with the syringe, Luna's eyes remained fixed on Liam. When the needle pierced her skin, she didn't flinch or growl. She simply continued watching the boy, completely calm despite the discomfort. "Remarkable," Dr. Martinez murmured. "Absolutely remarkable." After completing her examination, she invited Olivia and Daniel back in. "Luna's responding to treatment better than I expected," she reported. Her blood work still shows significant abnormalities, but her vital signs are stabilizing. Does that mean she'll recover? Olivia asked hopefully. It's still too early to make promises, Dr. Martinez cautioned, but she's fighting hard, and she seems to draw strength from Liam's presence. Can I stay with her today? Liam asked immediately. The adults exchanged glances. You have school, buddy, Daniel reminded him gently. Liam's face fell. But Luna needs me. Actually, Dr. Martinez interjected, Luna does seem to respond better when Liam is here. Her heart rate is more stable, and she's more willing to accept treatment. If it's not too much trouble, having him visit after school might actually aid in her recovery. I don't mind bringing him, Olivia offered. I can work remotely for a few days. And so a routine was established. Liam would go to school in the morning, with Olivia picking him up directly afterward and bringing him to the clinic where he would spend hours sitting with Luna. Daniel would join them after work, and the family would finally head home after Luna had been settled for the night. Day by day, Luna's condition improved. The IV fluids restored her hydration, and she gradually began accepting small amounts of specialized food. Her body remained skeletal, but her eyes grew more alert, and she started responding to simple commands from Dr. Martinez, though only when Liam was present. Word of Luna's miraculous survival spread far beyond their small town. Animal lovers from across the country followed her progress online, where Dr. Martinez had begun posting daily updates. Local news stations featured regular segments on the miracle dog and the boy who saved her. Donations poured in to cover Luna's medical expenses, with the excess being directed to a fund for other abused animals. 5 days after her rescue, Luna attempted to stand for the first time. Liam was sitting in his usual spot beside her treatment table when she suddenly lifted her head, her gaze focused intently on the boy's face. "What is it, girl?" he asked softly. In response, Luna struggled to pull her legs underneath her body. Her limbs trembled with the effort, weakened muscles protesting after months of disuse. "Dr. Martinez!" Liam called out, his voice urgent but controlled. "Luna's trying to get up!" The veterinarian rushed in, with Olivia close behind. They watched in amazement as Luna, with agonizing slowness, pushed herself into a standing position. Her legs trembled violently, threatening to buckle at any moment, but she remained upright, her eyes never leaving Liam's face. "Good girl," Liam whispered, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I knew you could do it." Luna stood for nearly 30 seconds before her strength gave out, and she collapsed back onto the treatment table. But the milestone was significant, a clear sign that her will to recover remained strong. "This is incredible progress," Dr. Martinez said, quickly checking Luna's vital signs. Most dogs in her condition wouldn't even attempt to stand for weeks. That evening, as news of Luna's achievement spread, the clinic received a visitor, Detective James Wilson from the Pineville Police Department. "I'm here about the dog case," he explained to Dr. Martinez, "and the disappearance of Edward Morrison." After being briefed on Luna's condition, Detective Wilson asked to speak with the Carter family. "I understand you found some journals in your house?" he asked, once they were seated in Dr. Martinez's small office. Olivia nodded. "In the attic. We've given them to the police already." "Yes, I've reviewed them," the detective confirmed. "They paint a disturbing picture of Morrison's mental state, but there are still unanswered questions about his disappearance." He turned his attention to Liam, who sat quietly between his parents. "Liam, I know this might seem like a strange question, but has Luna told you anything about what happened to her owner?" Olivia stiffened. "Detective, he's 5 years old. I don't think—" "It's okay, Mom," Liam interrupted, his expression serious beyond his years. "Luna doesn't like to talk about the bad man much, but she knows he's not coming back." Detective Wilson leaned forward slightly. "How does she know that, Liam?" Liam hesitated, his gaze dropping to his hands. "She says he was sorry for what he did to her. He cried a lot after he put her in the wall. Then one day he just went away and never came back." A chill settled over the room at the child's words. "Liam," Detective Wilson said carefully, "do you know where Edward Morrison went?" Liam looked up, his eyes unnervingly direct. "To the place with the big trees, where he used to take Luna for walks. That's where he decided to go to sleep forever." Daniel's face paled. "Liam, how could you possibly know that?" "Luna showed me," Liam said simply, "in my dreams." Detective Wilson made a note in his small notebook. "There's a wooded area about half a mile from your house," he said. "Morrison was known to walk his dog there. We'll have a team search it tomorrow." After the detective left, Daniel and Olivia sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they'd just heard. "He couldn't possibly know those details," Olivia whispered. Unless he really is somehow communicating with Luna," Daniel finished, the concept still bizarre to him despite everything they had witnessed. "But how? It's not scientifically possible." "Nothing about this situation has been scientifically possible," Olivia pointed out. "Luna surviving months without adequate food or water, Liam hearing her through the walls when we couldn't, knowing her name before we found the journals." They both looked at their son, who had returned to Luna's side and was gently stroking her head, completely oblivious to his parents' confusion and concern. "What do we do?" Daniel asked finally. Olivia sighed. "I don't know, but I think we need to stop questioning it and just accept that Liam has some kind of gift, a connection with Luna that we can't understand." The next morning, Detective Wilson called to inform them that human remains had been discovered in the wooded area exactly where Liam had indicated. Preliminary evidence suggested suicide, though a full investigation was still underway. "How did he know, Olivia?" Daniel asked after hanging up the phone, his voice shaking slightly. "How could he possibly have known where to find Morrison's body?" Olivia had no answer. She could only watch as her son got ready for school, packing his lunch and chattering about taking Luna for walks once she was better, behaving for all the world like a normal 5-year-old boy rather than a child with an inexplicable psychic connection to a traumatized dog. Word of Liam's uncanny prediction spread quickly, adding a new layer of mystery to the already sensational story. News reporters camped outside the veterinary clinic became more persistent, desperate for interviews with the boy who could seemingly communicate with animals. "They're calling him the dog whisperer now," Carlos told Dr. Martinez as they prepared the clinic for the day. "Social media is going crazy with theories. Some people are saying he's psychic." Dr. Martinez frowned. "He's a child, not a sideshow attraction. The last thing he needs is that kind of attention." But the media frenzy was just beginning. As Luna continued to improve, making small but significant progress each day, interest in her story, and in Liam's mysterious abilities, only intensified. 7 days after Luna's rescue, Dr. Martinez made a suggestion that surprised the Carter family. "I think Luna might recover better in a home environment now," she said during their evening visit. "She's stable enough that I'm comfortable releasing her from the clinic as long as she receives proper care and regular checkups." "You mean she could come home with us?" Liam asked, his eyes lighting up with hope. Dr. Martinez nodded. "With your parents' permission, of course. She still needs special food, medication, and physical therapy, but being in a calm, loving environment might accelerate her healing." Olivia and Daniel exchanged uncertain glances. "We haven't exactly discussed adopting a dog," Daniel began cautiously. "Not just any dog," Liam interjected. "Luna, she needs us. She needs me." "Honey, it's a big responsibility," Olivia explained gently. "Luna will need a lot of care, and we both work full-time." "I can help," Liam insisted. "I already know what she needs. I can tell when she's in pain or when she's thirsty or when she needs to go outside." Dr. Martinez watched the family discussion with interest. "If it helps," she offered, "I've never seen a bond quite like the one between Liam and Luna. In my professional opinion, separating them at this point might actually be detrimental to her recovery." Daniel sighed, recognizing when he was outnumbered. "I suppose we could try it, on a trial basis." Liam's face broke into a radiant smile. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. You won't regret it, I promise." The next day, preparations were made for Luna's homecoming. Daniel cleared a space in the living room, setting up a comfortable dog bed where Luna could rest while still being part of family activities. Olivia purchased the special food and supplements Dr. Martinez had recommended, and Liam, barely able to contain his excitement, arranged his stuffed animals around Luna's new bed so she wouldn't feel lonely. When the moment finally came to bring Luna home, Dr. Martinez helped them settle her in the back of their SUV, showing them how to support her still frail body during the drive. Luna remained calm throughout the process, her eyes frequently seeking out Liam for reassurance. "Remember," Dr. Martinez instructed as they prepared to leave, "no sudden movements or loud noises. Keep her on the feeding schedule we discussed, and call me immediately if you notice any changes in her condition." "We will," Olivia promised, "and thank you for everything." The drive home was tense, with Daniel carefully avoiding bumps and Olivia frequently checking on Luna in the back seat, where she lay with her head resting on Liam's lap. "Almost home, girl," Liam whispered, gently stroking her ears. "You're going to love it there." Photographers and reporters had gathered near their house, alerted somehow to Luna's release from the clinic. Daniel drove past them without stopping, pulling directly into the garage and closing the door behind them to avoid the media circus. Getting Luna from the car to the house proved challenging. Though she had regained some strength, she still couldn't walk more than a few steps without assistance. Daniel carefully lifted her, following Dr. Martinez's instructions on supporting her weight properly, while Olivia cleared the path ahead. When they reached the living room, Daniel gently lowered Luna onto her new bed. She glanced around the unfamiliar space, her body tense until Liam settled beside her. "This is your home now," he told her, his small hand resting protectively on her bony shoulder. "You're safe here." As if understanding his words, Luna relaxed, her tail thumping weakly against the soft cushion of her bed. That night, after Liam had finally been convinced to go to his own bed instead of sleeping beside Luna, Olivia and Daniel sat in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones. "Did you see how she calmed down as soon as Liam spoke to her?" Olivia asked. "It's like she understands every word he says." Daniel nodded, still struggling to reconcile what he was witnessing with his logical, science-based worldview. "I know, it's uncanny. Do you think we should have him tested or something?" Olivia wondered. "Maybe there's a scientific explanation for this connection he has with Luna." "What kind of test would even apply to this situation?" Daniel countered. "It's not like there's a standard protocol for determining if your 5-year-old son is psychically linked to a German Shepherd." Olivia managed a small smile at that. "When you put it that way, it does sound ridiculous." "Maybe we should contact that researcher Dr. Martinez mentioned," Daniel suggested. "The one who studies human-animal communication. Dr. Reed, I think his name was." "Maybe," Olivia agreed, though she sounded uncertain. "I just don't want Liam to become some kind of research subject. He's already getting so much attention from the media." Their conversation was interrupted by a sound from the living room, a soft whine followed by restless movement. They hurried to check on Luna, finding her attempting to stand, her legs trembling with the effort. "Luna, stay down," Olivia urged gently. "You need to rest." But the dog ignored her, continuing her struggle until she was on her feet, swaying slightly but determined. She took one shaky step toward the hallway, then another. "What is she doing?" Daniel whispered, not wanting to startle the dog. "I think she's looking for Liam," Olivia realized. "Should we stop her? Dr. Martinez said she shouldn't overexert herself." Before Daniel could respond, they heard small footsteps in the hallway. Liam appeared, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Luna?" he called softly. "What are you doing up?" The German Shepherd froze at the sound of his voice, her entire body seeming to relax. But instead of lying back down, she continued her painstaking journey toward the boy, each step clearly requiring immense effort. When she finally reached him, Luna pressed her head against Liam's chest, a small whimper escaping her. "It's okay," Liam soothed, wrapping his arms around her neck. "I'm here. You don't have to be afraid." Olivia and Daniel watched in amazement as their son guided the dog back to her bed, speaking to her in low, reassuring tones. Luna followed him obediently, settling down only when Liam sat beside her, his small hand resting on her side. "She had a bad dream," Liam explained to his parents, "about the dark place in the wall. She was afraid I wouldn't find her again." Daniel opened his mouth to question how Liam could possibly know that, then closed it again. At this point, questioning his son's insights seemed pointless. "Do you want to sleep out here with her tonight?" Olivia asked, recognizing that separating the two might be more disruptive than beneficial. Liam nodded gratefully. "Just for tonight, so she knows she's not alone." Olivia brought a pillow and blanket from Liam's room, helping him make a comfortable spot beside Luna's bed. Within minutes, both boy and dog were asleep, Luna's breathing deep and even for perhaps the first time since her rescue. As news of Luna's homecoming spread, Dr. Elena Martinez faced increasing requests for interviews about the case. Initially reluctant to discuss her patients publicly, she eventually agreed to a brief statement for the local news, hoping to redirect some of the attention away from Liam and toward the broader issue of animal cruelty. "Luna's case is extraordinary," she told the reporter, "both the cruelty she endured and her miraculous survival. But what's most remarkable to me as a veterinarian is the connection she shares with Liam Carter. In 30 years of practice, I've never witnessed anything quite like it. Would you describe it as a psychic connection? The reporter pressed. Dr. Martinez chose her words carefully. I would describe it as a profound bond that transcends our current scientific understanding. Whether you call that psychic, intuitive, or simply a unique form of empathy is less important than the healing effect it's having on Luna. When asked about Luna's prognosis, Dr. Martinez remained cautiously optimistic. She has a long road ahead, but her progress so far has defied all medical expectations. If any dog can make a full recovery from such trauma, it's Luna. The interview aired that evening, adding fuel to the growing public fascination with Luna and Liam's story. Social media buzzed with theories and debates, some praising the boy's special gift, while others sought scientific explanations for the apparent connection. As Luna continued her recovery in the Carter home, Liam's bond with her only deepened. He seemed to anticipate her needs before she showed any signs, bringing water moments before she would have whined for it, adjusting her position when pressure sores were forming, knowing exactly when her pain medication was wearing off, even before Luna herself showed signs of discomfort. It's like they're having conversations we can't hear, Olivia remarked one evening, watching as Liam sat beside Luna, both of them seemingly content in silent communion. Daniel nodded, having finally accepted the inexplicable nature of their connection. Whatever it is, it's helping her recover. Dr. Martinez says her progress is unprecedented. Indeed, Luna was gaining strength daily. Within 2 weeks of coming home, she could walk short distances without assistance. Her coat, once dull and patchy, began to regain its luster as her body slowly recovered from starvation. And though still thin, the worst of her emaciation was fading as proper nutrition restored her health. Throughout it all, Liam remained her constant companion, her protector, and, in ways his parents couldn't fully comprehend, her translator to the human world. One night, when Luna had been with them for nearly 3 weeks, Liam woke his parents with an urgent knock on their bedroom door. "Luna needs to tell you something," he announced, his expression serious despite the late hour. "It's important." Exchanging confused glances, Olivia and Daniel followed their son to the living room, where Luna sat alert beside her bed, her eyes focused intently on the humans as they entered. "What is it, honey?" Olivia asked, stifling a yawn. "Is Luna